Hi everybody, I'm Den Haring and welcome back to my channel, Fish Den 365. It's Topwater Tuesday and today we're going to be talking about the Bagley Bang-O-Lure.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so the Bagley Bang-O-Lure has always been one of my favorite topwater baits. You might be thinking, well, that's not a topwater bait, it's a minnow bait. And it's true, it's a jerk bait, it's a minnow bait, but it's also a topwater bait because it's a high floater. And you can specifically fish this to be a topwater bait. There's a couple different sizes that you can buy. This one here is a number 5. This one's a smaller size, about 4 inches long. They have multiple color patterns. I like this golden black. They have a golden black like this one with black stripes, the way this silver pattern has. That's one of my favorite colors. Anytime I'm fishing where there's golden shiners, I like this color. And then I like the silver patterns where there's regular shiners and shad and that kind of thing. Let's talk about what I use to throw these. I usually fish these are light baits, but I like to throw them on a bait caster when I can. So I have a topwater bait caster that throws light baits. It's basically a medium rod with a nice tip on it. And I'll use braided line, 20-pound test braid with some type of monofilament leader, a couple, maybe 7 foot long or a little longer monofilament leader, anywhere from 10 to 12 to 17-pound test max on the leader material. And I always use a snap on these baits like I do on others. I use a small snap, one that doesn't add a lot of weight to the front of the bait. If you're not going to use a snap, you can tie a loop knot. The one thing I don't like to tie directly to is these split rings. And the reason why I don't like to tie my line directly to those is two things happens. One is the line sometimes can get in the split of the ring and actually work its way out, or it can weaken the line and it can break on you. So usually I'll take the split ring off and put a snap on there and fish it that way and just tie it directly to the snap. That way I have plenty of movement, wiggle room for this bait to move and dance. The other thing you can do is fish this on a spinning rod. You just use lighter braid and lighter monofilament. Definitely will be able to throw it further on a spinning rod. So I'll use it that way on occasion, especially on windier days. When I can get away with it though, I prefer to have a bait caster. I just feel like I get a better hook set using a bait cast setup with this particular bait. Now there's 3 ways that I like to fish the Bagley Bang-O-Lure. And one of them is to just throw it out there and let it just float on the surface and dead stick it. That means you don't do anything at all. You just let it sit out there as long as you can stand it. And then maybe after as long as you can stand it, just the slightest twitch, just so that the bait just twitches ever so slightly, so it makes ever so slightly a ripple. But usually you don't even have to do that. You just let it sit out there until you can't stand it anymore. And oftentimes the fish can't stand that either. They're looking up there, they see in this thing just sitting there. It looks injured, it looks like something's wrong with it. And they usually just come up and they'll just suck it in. You'll see almost like a toilet flush in a lot of cases. They just suck the bait right in, they just come up slowly to it. And usually they're the biggest fish when I fish that way, where I just let it sit out there. The 2 other ways that I like to fish this bait is I'll throw it out there, I'll let the ripples subside after it lands in the water, and then I'll just move the rod so that the bait jerks and maybe dips under the water and comes back up again. And that often works pretty well as well. It just looks like it's an injured bait. I'll usually do that at the end of my cast for 2, 3, 4 times. I might let it sit between a little bit. And then I'll do the 3rd retrieve if that doesn't work, and that is I just start reeling it very, very slowly so that it makes a wake on the surface of the water. And that's one of the advantages of the Bang-O-Lure. It is a wooden bait, a very high floater. It's a lot like the Rapala floating minnow, but it floats higher than the Rapala floating minnow, quite a bit higher. And because it floats higher, it has a more exaggerated action when you're retrieving the bait. And that's the reason why I like it more than the actual Rapala floating minnow, which is a great lure in itself. But this bait, I like the action of it that much more because it's just more buoyant and it has more action when you're working the bait. And so when I'm retrieving it very slowly, it makes a really nice wake on the surface, and that often really attracts the fish and catches them. One of the things it catches too, though, is chain pickerel. They seem to like to hone in on that, and it's a big chain pickerel catcher as well, but it's also a good bass technique. Now, usually I like to throw this bait in shallow water. It really does well in those Pocono lakes, those tannic water Pocono lakes. It's a great bait to throw in those types of environments. And it's not just limited to pickerel and bass. Sometimes you can catch some very big perch and crappie on this bait as well. So it's a good all-around bait. When fish are shallow, when the water's warmed up, this is a good thing to throw. Anytime you have shallow water conditions with a light ripple or just dead calm, this is a good bait to go to. Give it a try if you haven't. It'll catch a fish, and it's a fun way of fishing. It's visual because it's topwater, and that's our bait for this Topwater Tuesday. Well, if you liked the video, don't forget to give me that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, we're certified Bassified. We're all about the art and science of fishing, especially bass fishing. And as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.